are days where I am exhausted. I don't even know where I'm going to get my strength. But when I see a child, I act and I show up. Because for them, I might be the only positive face that they see. So it is so important for us to maximize those opportunities to excite, to ignite, to inspire them to be their best selves. And we are the adults, and we have a choice. We chose this profession. It is our choice.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Leading Through Unprecedented Times. I'm Tom Murray, your host. We hope you've had a fabulous July 4th long weekend, and I am ecstatic to have the one and only Dr. Sharonica Hardin-Bartley with me here today. I am so excited to have you. Just met her through a mutual friend, my good friend Marlon Stiles, who's been on the podcast multiple times. She's the superintendent in the school district of University City in Missouri, right outside of St. Louis. And wow, just in our precursor, just to connect and catch up, you are in for a treat. Sharonica, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Thank you. I'm so excited to recently connect. I'm always looking to grow my own network, and told you I reached out to my buddy Marlon Stiles, and he's like, I got a superintendent. You've got to get on your radar. She's doing amazing things, doing incredible things. Tell us a little about who you are, your work, where you are, just the size of your district, things happening so people can be familiar with who you are and the work that you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me again. And hello to my dear friend Marlon. Superintendent, University City, and we are a small suburban district right near St. Louis City. We service 2,600 amazing young people. My population is across 8 buildings. We have 4 elementary schools, a middle school, a high school, early childhood center, and then we have an alternative program. We have 87% of our students are African American. 68% receive free and or reduced lunch. I come to the space and the work being a St. Louis native. I'm entering my 29th year in education and my 8th year as superintendent of our amazing system. St. Louis is very close to Ferguson. So I was very involved with the Ferguson Commission's work, particularly around child well-being and education equity after the murder of Mike Brown. So that work has really centered my vision for University City, specifically for the students that I serve, really valuing the social emotional needs of students and, of course, the academic needs that they have, understanding that it is a head and heart business and one really does not exist without the other. So we anchor our work around 3 pillars, which are our vision of learning reimagined, humanized, personalized, and problematized, that serves as the foundation for our work in UCity.
Oh, I love that. And truly the work that you were just sharing, there's no more important work than that. That's for sure. And thank you for your leadership in all those vital areas. So one of the things that we were talking about early on and starting to get to know each other and connect, you mentioned your focus on SEAL. And it was that it kind of raised my awareness a little bit as I wanted you to dive into that acronym. And, just by sharing that the first few moments there, it's no surprise in the work that you're doing there. Talk to us about what SEAL stands for, the kind of work that happens there in your district and how you're prioritizing that.
Yeah, so SEAL is not necessarily our acronym. We've heard it before, but we talk a lot about social emotional learning and SEAL. So SEAL, but we've added the A. So it's SEAL, social emotional equity and academic learning. And really, it's helping teachers and leaders and parents and students understand that social emotional learning doesn't happen over here and then academics over here. They're not working against one another. There is a true partnership, and where we are holistically meeting the needs of all students, of all scholars, we're blending that approach. I believe that no meaningful learning happens absent of relationship. So we have to root our work with young people in solid relationships with the adults that work alongside them and the adults that serve them. And we also have to ensure that their needs are met. And we do this by being explicit about our work with SEL. We do this about really understanding that there are competencies associated with how we interface with students. If you haven't noticed that mental health is a significant issue in any school setting, and it's across race, it's across socioeconomic status, and our children don't come to us as robots. They don't leave all of the emotion and all of the stuff at the door. They bring that with them, and as the educators who serve alongside them, we must work in partnership and keep the academic focus there, but simultaneously make sure that their well-being is centered. So we focus on trauma-informed practices, trauma-informed learning. We also focus on restorative practices, and our students are at the center of that work. We have a social justice class. We're the only district in our area that has a social justice class where students are able to have discourse and dialogue around meaningful issues that impact them and also impact others. And I think that real world experience of understanding what's happening around them is brought into the classroom so that they can have meaningful and purposeful and safe conversations about some very difficult and complex issues.
Yeah, I love that. Such vital work. And I love the intersection there you said between SEL and then equity and academics and putting all those pieces together. And love how you teased out that they can't be these pillars and that they have to be, or they can't be separate, I should say, and how they all do go together. And I love the intersectionality that you put there. I want to dive further into in your intro. You started to talk a little bit about your strategic plan and some of the three pillars that you have there. Can we dive into each one of those and really what that looks like in your district?
Absolutely. So, Learning Reimagined was a vision that was born from the community. It was not something that I came in and said, this is what we're doing. So, when I started as superintendent 8 years ago, we really engaged in a large listening and learning tour where parents and caregivers and students community told us what they wanted in U City. We understood that it was important to know the context of education now, but more importantly, the context of education in the future. So the students that started in kindergarten when I started, they're the class of 2030. And so just thinking about what is going to be happening in the future, we have to be preparing them for that future now, and honestly for a future where that we really don't know what it looks like. No one anticipated COVID to happen 3 years ago, but yet here we are, and we're still working to understand and navigate that space. So Learning Reimagined, it was first and foremost the humanized pillar. That is at the heart. And we were very intentional about that pillar. It is understanding the uniqueness that students bring, understanding that social emotional health and well being is an important piece of the educational puzzle, that we must be sure that students have a voice and choice. We must treat educators as the professionals that they are. So we must respect them and trust them and lift them up. But at the same time, we do the same thing with students and their caregivers. Our personalized pillar is very simple. Education should fit like a fine tailored suit. If you've never had a fine tailored suit, I encourage you to get one. It just feels good. So it should be personalized if a child has aspirations for the arts, for athletics, for scholarship, for having an interest in things related to technology. We should be able to tap into their interest and give them experiences, authentic experiences that extend and enhance that passion and that interest. Our problematized pillar is not a word that we made up, it is a word. And it's really about making sure that the schooling experience extends beyond the four walls. So, giving students rich experiences to work in real world environments, to interface with experts from different fields, to expose them to different pathways, different career options that, again, they may not have thought of. All of that is grounded in what we call a modern, rigorous learning experience, and that is Learning Reimagined. We use that platform to build out our strategic priorities. We have five, so we're very simplistic. I was a part of a system that had a 180-page strategic plan, and no one could tell me what it meant. So we have five strategic priorities. The first is that rigorous modern learning experience. That's learning reimagined. The second is well-being and joy. And we're very intentional about that strategic priority. And we qualify that and quantify it through a panorama survey that is out of Harvard that we use to assess the social emotional needs of students. Our third is excellent staff, because none of this work happens absent people. Our fifth is all hands. We understand. Fourth, I'm sorry, is all hands, because we understand that it takes a partnership. Schools cannot do this work alone. We have to work in tandem with businesses, with higher education, with community. And then our fifth is resourcing the vision. How do we have the fiscal resources and make the fiscally sound decisions so that we are centering equity, racial equity, in everything that we do, making sure that students have what they need, not necessarily the same thing, but ensuring that students truly have what they need as a result of the efforts of the adults. So that is Learning Reimagined and our strategic priorities that kind of complement that work.
And all I have to say is I'm over here taking notes, and I think I'm on page 3, so you can just keep going. Wow, you can keep going. Oh my gosh, I got to tell you, your joy, your passion, it just radiates in all that you do. And thank you, Marlon, for connecting me. I will say that. Thank you, Marlon. So I don't even know. Holy cow, there's so much that we could dive into. I was just writing down some of the key words and concepts. One of the themes that I've seen emerge throughout this season of Leading Through Unprecedented Times that I hadn't seen so much when we were in almost this like survival mode, it seemed in the first few seasons, is this notion around joy, and well-being. And we've been talking about the well-being part a bit already, but you mentioned specifically the word joy. And I will tell you, from the moment we hopped on the podcast and you gave me that big smile and that good morning, I could see it and see it's obvious that you're somebody that models that. I will also say, when you look outside, and I get to be in so many school districts in a given year, coming up, I'll be doing so many different convocations and getting all people all fired up. It's also something that's lacking in so many places, right? Where we almost have this kind of like educational Eeyore, and I hate to put it that way, but oh God, it's Monday. Oh God, it's Thursday, right? And we can create these cycles of negativity if we're not careful, but we have to seek joy, and we have to, if we're not doing it as leaders, there's a good chance our teachers aren't. And if we're not doing it as teachers, there's a good chance our students aren't. So talk to me a little bit more about the joy component, if you were. How can educators be really intentional in just leveraging that joy to bring learning to life?
I think that it is a way of being, and it is a choice. It is and it's not something that can be forced. And you have to truly love what you do. Not love everything about what you do, but you have to love what you do, and you have to have this innate, intrinsic motivation to care for children. There's a African tribe, the Maasai tribe, and I talk about them often, and it's a fable, but I think there's some authenticity. And one of their greetings is, "And how are the children?" And they ask that greeting, and the answer is, "All the children are well." And what that means is, to the Maasai tribe, is that life is good, that we are truly caring for those who are the most vulnerable, and those are our young people. And so when I talk with educators, I ask, "And how are the children?" Can we truly say that life is good? That the care and the well-being and the nurturing of children is at the center of everything that we do. The late Rita Pearson, has a great TED talk, and she says that every kid needs a champion. And she also said the children don't learn from teachers they don't like. And so when we think about that, that seems cliche and very simplistic, but children are just these amazing bundles of energy and joy. And they come that way. Even the ones who need a little more love and a little more hugs and a little more care, they want to be a part of something. They want to have a sense of belonging. And I think about that fine restaurant that I love to visit and I love to engage and have conversations with my girlfriends. That's the space that I'm in. That's what children want when they come to school. No one frequents a restaurant and they feel that the service is horrible, the food is disgusting, the conversation, the community is not pleasant. So why do we expect for children to want to enter spaces that are just gloom and gloom? And so as the educators, I call it being great actors and actresses. So we have to get on a stage and we have to act. There are days where I am exhausted. I don't even know where I'm going to get my strength. But when I see a child, I act and I show up, because for them, I might be the only positive face that they see. So it is so important for us to maximize those opportunities to excite, to ignite, to inspire them to be their best selves. And we are the adults, and we have a choice. We chose this profession. It is our choice. I don't volunteer my time. I get paid to do what I do. And so there is a moral and ethical responsibility to center that joy for children, even when honestly, I don't feel very joyful. But I make sure that when I'm in the company of young people, that they see that spark and they see a light. And we never know the impact that we're going to have on young people. And we can never underestimate the impact that we have. So I just encourage educators to dig down deep, to dig down deep and always think about, if this were your child or your grandchild or your niece, your nephew, your cousin, how would you want them to experience you as an educator? And if that is not the highest standard, I don't know what is. So I look at my children as my own. I encourage the educators to do the same. And it is sometimes an act. And it is, but we have to be authentic because children understand we're not being real. So we have to find a way to connect with them and to spark and be that spark and that light that they so desperately need, particularly now. Now more than ever, our young people are screaming for that. So.
Wow, you are bringing the fire. One of the pieces that I just loved is how are the children? My good friend Ken Shelton, who's done some work with us at Future Ready. Ken and I have been able to, we've co-presented many times, and he loves to actually start every session or workshop with that exact question: how are the children, and pulling it from there as well. One of the things that I love to hear you talk about is really centering our students and starting with that question, but this notion around student voice. It's something I know you're so passionate about. You are all are just awarded the Green School from the U.S. Department of Education because of some of the things you're doing around student voice and sustainability. Tell us a little bit about that program and how you're prioritizing that.
Yeah, so we have a fantastic teacher, Ann Cummings, who used to be our gifted teacher. And she came to us and said, I'm only servicing a small population. I want to service all the students in our middle school. So she created a sustainability course, and our students, now we've expanded that. So we have Sustainability 1 and 2. And what it looks like is students who were interested in supporting food scarcity and making sure that families had access to healthy food options. So they started a giving garden. And it was just as simple as that. They wanted to provide fresh produce at no cost to families. That giving garden has grown. We now have an annual Grow Together event that is primarily student led, where we give away seedlings and also plants so families can have those types of resources in their home. We also teach them the importance of gardening and the importance of healthy options. We have the Pollinators Club because everybody's afraid of bees, but bees are a very important process of the life cycle, particularly when we talk about healthy foods. And our students have just really taken off and really embraced this notion of sustainability, from environmental issues to understanding how fresh water is not something that every community has. Flint, Michigan is one area where our students really invested in learning about that community and wanting to give back. So they simulated carrying water jugs to a local park to show how far women and children in third world countries have to walk just to get fresh water. And for each jug, they requested donations, and they donated over $500 to the families and children in Michigan. Those are just a few examples, but student voice and choice is foundational to our work. When students are passionate about something and the adults just get out of the way and support them and guide them, it's amazing what they can do. And so having a small district, urban district, we have chickens. So we have fresh eggs. We have probably every vegetable you can possibly think of in our gardens. All of our schools now have gardens because we wanted to ensure equity. So we make sure that all of them have gardens. It is built into our curriculum, and it is also a part of our extracurricular efforts. So very excited about our young people, and it is Miss Cummings. Shout out to her, and shout out to the amazing young people who made that possible for U City.
That's amazing. So as I start to research over here, properties available in your school district, as I'm looking forward, here we are. It's truly just incredible work you're leading. I can listen to you all day. And again, the passion just radiates, but the opportunities for kids, the opportunities that are just equity centered by design to give each child the opportunity there. Here we are in July, looking forward to this coming year as you look to launch yet another school year, ninth as a superintendent, as you said earlier, as you look to launch just that next year. What are you hoping for? What's your highest hope for next year? What are you looking to do this coming year?
So I would say it's my 8th year. So
Oh,
I'm
eight.
going
Sorry about
into my
that.
eighth. Yep.
Stand corrected.
I would say that we are truly we have coherence, that all of the systems and the vision that we have in our district, that the pieces are truly aligned and coherent so that even a third grader can explain our vision in their own words. That is where I feel the work lives. It lives with the experiences of youth. I can talk about this all day. But if our children can articulate it they may not be able to use the same words, but if they can articulate this feeling of SEL being truly embedded in everything that they do, this love of learning, this joy, our 3 pillars, that's where it matters. It matters most with young people. So my hope is that we are very coherent in our approach so that every child can fully explain and talk about how they experience U City.
Oh, I love that. So I've got one final question for you. We get thousands of listeners for each episode, and no matter what their role is, whether they're a teacher happening to listen in, maybe they're a principal, another superintendent, somebody from the highest levels of government, no matter where they are leading a school system, let's focus on those folks, of course, leading the school system. What piece of advice do you have as they go to kick off that next school year based on some of the things that you're passionate about, that you were talking about? Just speak from the heart if you could for a minute, no matter what their role is, no matter how many years they've been doing it, they're working with kids. What's one piece of advice that you have for them moving forward?
Never underestimate your impact. Never underestimate the power that you have to impact the life of a child. That is a tremendous responsibility that should not be taken lightly. And every day, every second, every moment, show up in a way that you're proud of, show up in a way that is authentic to who you are, particularly on those days where it is tough. Our children are not able to compartmentalize. They bring everything with them. And as the adults who are charged with caring for them, it is our responsibility to truly care for them. Take care of yourself because you are important. You can't pour from an empty cup, but never underestimate your impact.
That's the one and only Dr. Sharonica Hardin-Bartley. Sharonica, what an honor it's been to have you on the podcast. Thanks for investing the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.